Trout of the morning, first spot, deep hole. Fishing on a kind of tough morning. Been blowing hard north and west wind for a couple days, and expect the water to be pretty dirty. Actually, it looks pretty clean. We got out here 30 minutes before sunrise, so I didn't know what the water looked like, but good start. There's another one.
Well, got me convinced.
In that hole.
Right
in the
in that
hole. Another decent. These are keeper trout.
You think I could get down there with a quarter?
Maybe. I mean, a half. I just didn't know how strong the current was going to be, so I got this ½ ounce.
Well, I'm gonna try a quarter. That's a nice keeper. So interesting down there.
I will do a rundown of this spot. So there's the Mr. Go, and this bayou is pouring water out. There's a deep hole kind of out here in the middle. The bayou up there is still like 7 feet deep. Then it runs into a deeper hole. We're catching them right at the edge where it goes from 7 down to 10.
I might have to put on a food.
Another decent trout. Oh yeah. These are all nice, all been keepers so far.
And what color are you throwing, John?
I'm throwing a black.
Cool. Right at the boat. That is a nice one. Nice one.
Wow.
Like he hit you right there.
Yeah.
67.8 on the water temperature. That's got a little heftiness to it.
There we go. That's a good one. This is a small
All
one.
right, doubling up.
So what I'm noticing, oh yeah, good fish. I'm noticing that the way to catch these trout is to cast up current, bring it down. As soon as your lure gets down current from the boat, then they don't hit it anymore. So they like it to be drifting down with the current, cast out in the middle of the bayou, and then let it drift down with the current. And they hit it. Every cast they hit it. Might not get them, but every cast. So this bayou is running out of the marsh and into the Mr. Go there.
That one looks good.
Speckled trout for sure.
Nice one.
15-inch.
Yeah.
So this is an unusual setup that I'm fishing with. ½ ounce jig head and a black swim bait. That's a nice trout. I just don't usually fish with that heavy of a jig head unless it's really deep or really strong current, and it's neither of those today. But I'm not going to get off of this one because it's working. Yeah, I think they call this, I think Dockside calls this black one a Spartacus. This is actually their Vortex shad, not the Matrix shad. It's a decent fish. Yeah. Man, can you believe all these trout in here? Yeah, that's right on 15 inches. It's great that we found the speckled trout here today, but it would be even better to understand why. It helps me understand fish behavior better if I visualize and compare the state of matter in which I live, and I'm talking about air here, which is 800 times less dense than the state of matter fish live in. That comparison helps me realize how controlling the hydrodynamic forces must be for the fish. If water flow controls the trout, then a big reason we're catching trout at this spot is because of what the water is doing. The tide is falling today, and it's pushing water over the hole we're fishing, and we found the trout ganged up at the drop-off where the bottom goes from 7 feet down to 12 feet. If I was swimming in current, it seems like there would be lots of distractions around, and distractions might keep me from seeing the big bad trout. So it's very reasonable to assume that trout can hover near the current lines and take advantage of the chaos to easily snatch up a meal. This could be a point of land, the edge of a tide line, like are visible here as patterns in the water, or around a piling. A drop-off in a flowing bayou also creates a change in the flow, and that's exactly where we're catching trout today. The technique we're using today is jigging swim baits on the bottom. In most cases, the trout are taking the bait after the jig sequence and when the bait is falling. No big hits today. We're just waiting for a tap on the line before we set the hook. Decent fish, yeah. When I'm deep water fishing like this, I try to imagine what my actions are making the lure do underwater. And if my actions are getting results, then I keep running the image over and over. This is a picture in my mind. Yeah, decent. Maybe another 14, 15. Even bigger.
They are, John.
They're getting bigger, man.
There we go.
They're getting bigger. Doubling up.
This is a nice tug here. Yes. Oh yeah. Patience can be very helpful when I'm using this technique. If you get a hit but no hookup, just drop the rod tip, pause, and start over. You know that you're in the feeding zone, so don't be quick to move the bait out of there. Sounds good.
Yeah. I'll have to measure that one. I don't always feel the tap, so I anticipate that the bait could be in a fish's mouth, and when I tighten up for the next jig sequence, I'm prepared to set the hook if I think there is undue tension on the line. That's a keeper. Fish. Sometimes the trout will take the bait on the initial fall. This clip is a perfect example of that. And like the previous case, I have to anticipate that the bait could be in a fish's mouth when I tighten up for the next jig sequence. And I have to be prepared to set the hook. It's a good time to see if color really matters. Pink matrix shad. Oh man, they like this pink. They might like the pink better than the black. They have been pretty crazy about the pink. Every cast, almost immediately.
I'll try one or two more times and then latch on to.
Yeah, we had a little string of 15s and 16s. Well, they might like pink even better than they liked black.
There was no surface activity above the hole to tell us what bait the fish were feeding on, but we did see this spit out by one of the
That's like a small trout. That looks like a small trout.
It does.
Yeah.
That thing was sitting on bottom.
Ooh, that's a nice one. That's a nice fish right there.
You may also be seeing that sometimes I'm pulling a line out of the reel on the initial drop. And I'm not talking about the times after I make a bad cast and create a bee's nest in my reel. The reason is to give the bait slack line so that it falls naturally and is not pulled back toward the boat like a pendulum due to line tension. When it's dropping naturally, I think the bait looks more alive. But more importantly, it reaches the bottom quicker and at a point ahead of where I believe the fish to be staging. Otherwise, the bait may get pulled out of the feeding zone.
The old man is back. I think. Ooh, nice. Ooh, yeah.
Thanks for watching this video. I hope the content was a little familiar to you and hopefully helpful. If it was, give it a thumbs up. If you're not a subscriber of the Louisiana Sportsman TV channel, hit the subscribe. There's a lot of good content on here. If you want to see more of my content, go to Jon Miller Fishing on YouTube. You can find a lot of videos there, and they're all on fishing. Well, spots like the one we fished today are going to be good for the next 4 months. So I hope you can get out there and have some success like we did today.